You're here. I'm so excited. Today we're going to talk about 7 tips to help you grow in self-confidence. So if you have ever felt like you're not skinny enough, tall enough, pretty enough, rich enough, I'm going to give you 7 tips for that. And if you don't have time to watch right now, the best thing to do, I just learned this tip, is you share it. If you share it to either your wall or share it to your own private messages, if you don't want to share it on your personal page, then you'll have it. And so when you go back, there it is. Because I know that happens to me a lot where I go back to watch something and I can't find it. So double check real quick. Can you hear me? I know I haven't been on in a couple of weeks because I've been out of town. So I want to make sure that you can hear me okay. Good morning. There's Jocelyn and Colette and Tina and Beth and Heather and Andrea. Let me see who else is here. We've got Maria, Nairobi, Carla. Who else? Patty, driving to PT. It's always good listening in the car. That's fantastic. Oh, it's so nice to see you, Susie. Everybody's here. Okay, good. So I apparently you can hear me, so that's a good thing. So yeah, if you want, the best way, again, to make sure that you have this is to share it. So we're going to change things up. Normally we do like coffee chat first, and then we get into the information. This time we're going to do coffee chat last. There's Ashley and Amy and Debbie. Oh, the gang's all here. I've missed you so much. All right. So have you ever had that feeling that maybe you go to a Christmas party or you go to someplace and, you just don't feel like you're enough? Frankly, you are, because there's only one you, and you have the obligation to be you. Do you know what I mean? So if you've ever felt like that, what happens is when you don't feel good about yourself, those are the type of people you attract to yourself. You attract people to you that are like who you think you are. So if you feel like you're super successful, you'll find yourself attracting successful people. You'll attract better friends. That type of thing. So you can't do the Stuart Smalley thing. I'm good enough and I'm smart enough and doggone it, people like me. It's important how you speak to yourself in your head. I'm not saying that that's not what you do, but there are other things that are important to do as well. So first of all, and I love this quote from Eleanor Roosevelt. You not only have the right to be who you are and who God created you to be, but you have the obligation to do that. So I've always thought that that was super powerful. And Jocelyn said, a woman I grew up with just passed away from anorexia. Yeah, that's so tired. That's so tired. That's just hard. Judy says, I'm a daughter of the one true king. There you go. So, but we forget that. Because there are societal things that we kind of have to keep up with. You can't, you don't want to show up on the People of Walmart page. You know what I mean? So there are societal norms and there are things that are kind of expected of us, and we just can't go out and say, I don't care what people think, because quite frankly, that's how narcissists feel. So they truly, truly, truly don't care what other people think. So there's that fine line. There's that knife edge where you don't want to put too much emphasis on what other people think. But then again, that's part of the human condition. That's part of who we are. And that's part of living in the world. Is if nobody likes you and everybody hates you, let's go eat some worms. That's not a good place to be either, right? Have you seen the People of Walmart page, Ashley? Pretty hilarious. Tina says, I like that. You have an obligation. We do. You're obligated to God, if nobody else, right? To be who he created you to be and to serve people the way he wants you to serve people. So try to remember when we're talking about self-confidence, the enemy is really the inner me. It's that voice that's yammering in your head. And I just love, one of the movies that I love so much was The Emperor's New Groove. I love that. I love Tangled. A couple of my favorite movies. But in that, he had like the little devil on one shoulder and the little nice guy on the other shoulder. And so that's your inner conversation that goes on. Sometimes it's the good conversation that's going on. Sometimes it's not. And so sometimes that can be that devil is that enemy is that inner me, that inner little voice inside of your head that's bringing you down. And a lot of times people will think, you walk out the door and then you realize that, there's a string hanging off your sleeve. Oh my gosh, it's been that way all day and nobody told me. And I wish somebody, that's kind of a minor example, but oftentimes we're so much in our head, people don't even notice that kind of stuff. Some people do, but in general, people don't really notice what we think that they notice. So we're too much inside of our own heads. So we have 7 basic needs as far as the human condition, as being a human being: food, water, shelter, right? That's number 1. So there's that safety and protection need. And if you're familiar with Maslow's blah, 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 right? So that's what we're talking about. Number 2 is a sense of love and belonging. We want to have a sense of belonging to, for example, our family, to a circle of friends. We have relationships. We have our church groups, that type of thing. So we have number 2 is a sense of love and belonging. Number 3, we have a need for achievement, for growth, for accomplishment, for responsibility. So if you're, how life kind of gets stale if you're not doing something to improve yourself. And you really find, and if you don't really, I don't really feel the need to improve myself. If you go out and take a class, I don't care if it's pencil drawing or learning a new language or learning how to sign language, just something. When you learn something new, you feel better. You just have that sense of accomplishment, achievement. And so and part of that is part of that self-confidence thing. I'm going to get to those 7 tips in a minute, but being willing to invest in yourself and in your self-improvement, whether it's who listens to podcasts and what podcasts do you listen to? I have so many that I enjoy that I don't get to them all the time. Of course, I love Colleen, Build Your Tribe, and the Colleen show. I like Tony Robbins things. It's not always Tony, it's other people. Pat Flynn has a great podcast. Who am I listening to? Who did I listen to this morning? James Wedmore sometimes has some interesting thoughts. Love Amy Porterfield. So there's podcasts that you can listen to and improve your mind. And this is something I learned when I was at Marketing Impact Academy last weekend in Los Angeles with Chalene Johnson. And this rocked my world because I know this, but I didn't realize I was doing this. I get up in the morning, right? And there's this, and I'm like, and instead of doing 3, 2, 1, hop out of bed, I'm like, okay, well, see, look, I already have things that are going on here already. But instead of going 3, 2, 1 and getting out of the bed, I see these alerts and I feel the obligation to I don't like little red circles and I don't like alerts on my screen. So what I was doing, and then I got caught up like, gee, there's some red circles. I got to answer this. So I started putting other people's needs ahead of myself. Duh. So now the night before, I pick out what podcast I want to listen to in the morning. So when I pick up my phone, I hit play on the podcast. My feet hit the floor and I'm walking. So I'm putting my education, my learning, my self-care first before I'm answering y'all's emails, quite frankly, or seeing what's on Facebook. So being willing to invest in yourself. So that's number 3. Number 4, now these are just the hierarchy of needs. We haven't got to the 7 tips yet. A sense of meaning in our lives. And whether your meaning is something that you're working on to help others, or if you're a mom, your number 1 meaning in life is forming adults at this point, because the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. And for some temperaments and personalities, and you know who you are, if you have a lot of choleric tendencies, nothing against motherhood, because I'm a mom of 4. I left my career in television to be a stay-at-home mom. I had the sense that I needed something else outside of that to help other people. Now, my primary obligation, I homeschooled, so it wasn't like I was at the tennis club serving it up, serving others. That was weak. But I had the need, I had that, so I wrote, and I would write columns. I wrote for a magazine. This was kind of like early stages of blogging. So then I did some blogging, and Then I started doing speaking engagements, and then of course I wrote the book. But that was on the side. That was after I had taken care of my children. So a sense of meaning in our lives. Fifth, a hierarchy of personal needs is having beauty around us. And remember, clutter literally causes your brain to jitter. So if you don't have a sense of order and something pretty to look at, you're going to feel unsettled as a human being. So having something that you like, whether it's a flower on your, something pretty in your bathroom, whether you like perfume bottles or a pretty coffee mug or something that's really nice. You need a sense of order around you, and you need something pretty to look at. Number 6 would be personal growth and goals. And number 7 is helping others. So those are your hierarchy of personal needs as a human being. A dear amount. That too, Judy. Tina says, yeah, I do the same thing. You need to spend time with God first above everything else. And then, yeah, and isn't that funny? Because when you don't get that prayer and meditation in, things go a little bit wonky for me. Love podcast, says Joanne. Accidental Creative, one of favorite. Sally Clarkson's. Oh, never heard of either one of those. Angela Brown, Ask a Housekeeper. There you go. Hey, good morning, Betsy. Is inspired, says Joanne. Outstanding. So that is, those are your hierarchy of personal needs. Now, let's talk about what confidence is and what confidence isn't. First of all, you kind of have to do a SWOT analysis of yourself. Who are you outwardly? Are you a mom? You're a dad? You're a teenager? You're a runner? You're a writer, right? So there's those outward things that other people see. What's your inner me? I'm loving, I'm kind, I'm compassionate, I'm always early. Those are your inner things. And then who are you spiritually? You're God's child, you're an internal being, that type of thing. Then how are you in the world? What would others say about you? What do others see about you as far as that outwardness? And now, of course, that doesn't define who you are or how you think about yourself, but it can give you a clue on how you come across to people, right? Funniest thing that was said, somebody said this last week, talking about resting witch face. How some people just kind of, they can say, you're always so happy. Well, I try to be. I'm not always, but I try to be. Why you're always so upbeat and smiling and all that kind of stuff? Well, because I like to be happy. I choose to be happiness. I choose happiness. I choose not to be grumpy. It doesn't mean that bad things don't happen. It doesn't mean that I'm in denial. I deal with those things, and then I choose to be happy about the things that I deserve to be grateful for, because there's so many things to be happy about and be grateful for in life. So there's people that have that resting witch face, right? So is that how they're feeling inside all the time? No, that's just how their face kind of goes. And I used to have one of those faces. So I had to work on kind of like keeping a smile on my face a lot of the times, because I looked so intense, and it was scary because I'm tall anyway. So that would be really intimidating to people. So is that a lie? When you have that scowly type of face, are you that type of person? No, but you may have come across that way. So how am I in the world may not be who you really are. But if you have one of those faces that kind of rests into a scowl, then you might want to work on that. So, but it gives you a clue on how you come across to other people. And then knowing your strengths and weaknesses. But don't focus on your weaknesses. Again, when I meet with a client for the first time, they start off with a list of what they want to, their flaws and what they want to cover up. I have a mummy tummy. I don't like my thighs. I'm like, no. Let's start about what you like about yourself. What do you like that we can accentuate? Well, people tell me I have a nice smile. People tell me I have pretty eyes, right? So focusing not on your weaknesses, not that you're going to deny the fact that you have weaknesses, but it takes 10 positives to counteract one negative. And if we're constantly focusing on our weaknesses, it's kind of like driving a car. If you focus on a tree, you're going to hit the tree. You want to focus on the road. Keep your eyes on the road, right? Why? And when they're teaching you how to trick drive, I've never done this. This is something I want to do. But when they're teaching you defensive driving and that type of thing, they teach you to look where you want the car to go. Don't look at the accident or the wall or the water that's over the bridge, that type of thing. You look where you want the car to go, and that's where the car will go. So I forget who was telling the story. It might have been Matt Damon, where he was first learning how to do the trick driving. And literally, the man who was teaching him was sitting in the seat next to him, and he put the car into a spin. And Matt was looking at the wall like, oh my gosh, we're going to crash in the wall. And the guy reached over and grabbed his head and twisted his head away from the wall. And as soon as he looked at where he wanted the car to go, that's where he turned the wheel. It's the same thing in and your deficiencies, and that's where you'll go. Instead, try to look at the good things and your accomplishments and the things that you're good at and improve those things. So don't focus on the weaknesses. When you look at the pothole, you're going to hit it. So true. Beth Ann said, finally had a chance to listen in. Yay. Remember, if you don't have time to watch the whole show, share this either to your personal page or share it, hit the share button and then do the little drop down and say share in Messenger, and you can send it to yourself or send. All right. So that's like being self-aware. Then there's self-acceptance, and self-love. We're kind of going a little bit long. I haven't been here in a while. I miss you guys so much. I got so much to tell you. So let me go through self-acceptance really quick. When we fail to accept you're never going to be perfect. You're going to die and still not be perfect. Even if you live to be 200 years old, you're still not going to be perfect. And we strive to improve ourselves. Of course, please strive to improve yourself, right? But being willing to accept your. I'm sorry, I won't do it again. Please forgive me. Move on. Accept your strengths, but not being selfish. Don't fall into false humility. Be careful about how you accept compliments. I did this weekend. I was so super self-conscious. If you follow me on Instagram, I talked about it. I really opened up about it. And it's been very, very difficult. Oh, you look really pretty today. I love that scarf. Oh, this old thing? Wow, guess I shouldn't have complimented her. She just insulted me for thinking that her old thing was pretty. I didn't think about it that way, did you? Right? So being careful about that false humility as well. Being willing to accept your weaknesses, because they combine to make you a loving human being. We all have weaknesses. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's good at everything. I can't do nails very well. I ended up doing my own nails. Anyway, so it's a choice, right? You have a choice to accept yourself or not accept yourself. It's totally up to you. Because life is a process. It's a journey. You never be going to be totally getting there. Any podcasts I recommend? Oh, I listed a bunch of them earlier, Connie. If you want to go back, the sound is going in and out. Here too. Okay. Hey, Wendy. Good morning, my friend. I don't know why it would be cutting out. I haven't changed anything here. The only thing I can think of is that there is a storm here, and the storm may be impacting my live, which would be horrible. Oh, doggone it. Is it still cutting in and out? There's nothing I can do about it at this point. Because if it's cutting, missed the story about mass. Did I talk about mass? Can only hear half. I haven't changed anything. I'm not sure what to do because I haven't even gotten to the 7 tips. I go in and out with this. Accept me, and now it's fine. Okay. It literally could be a storm going through. Self-love. Accepting ourselves, loving ourselves as God loves us, being kind and compassionate to ourselves, that type of thing. And you need to see yourself as God sees you, because he created all these good things about you. And don't see yourself as the flawed human being that we all are, but recognize the gifts that God has given you and thank him for that. Be grateful for those things. So focusing on gratitude. Jocelyn says, heard almost everything. I just cut out for a bit. Okay, sounds great, says Heather. It's good now, says Beth Ann. All right, Sammy, I can see you now. Fantastic. Hey, Wendy, we got to talk. I haven't talked to you on the phone in like forever, so we need to like get on the phone. So there are 4 elements to self-love. 4. And self-care is number 1. Your body, your mind, and your spirit. You sleep, eat, exercise, pray, meditate. When you get all of that together in the morning and take care of yourself first, you're centered, you're organized, you're focused, and then you can serve others. But if you're a hot mess and you're no good, how can you help other people? You can't, because you're so, and see what happens is a lot of times, and I've been guilty of this myself, so I'm preaching to the choir here. When we're in the middle of some hot mess, the only way you can help other people is by taking good notes. I loved that. I heard this last weekend. When you're going through a horrible time in your life, journal a lot and take really good notes about how you're feeling and how you're working through it. Because when you get through it, and you will, because you have in the past and you will again, then you can turn around and help other people. But we go into this kind of denial stage where it's like, things are so bad and so crappy in my life right now, I'm going to help somebody else. But you're not able to give them 100%. Because you're so focused and things are happening in your life that you need to deal with. So when you're dealing with something really crappy, and that happens, take really good notes, journal a lot, focus on gratitude, but pay attention to how you work through this. Because once you've worked through it, then you can help somebody else work through it too. But don't get into denial where it's like, you know what, I've got so much crap going on in my life, I'm just going to help somebody else fix theirs. What credibility do you have? Right? That's a denial thing. Focus on fixing the stuff in your own life first. Then you can turn around and help other people. You just gave your number out? I know your number. I was saying something about going to Mass. Not sure if it was something about being self-conscious. I don't know. I don't remember saying anything about going to Mass. Amy's got a storm too. That's why. Self-compassion and self-talk. Watch how you speak to yourself. When you make a mistake, do you beat yourself up? I can't believe, how stupid could I be? That was so dumb. I went off my diet. I did this. I did that. And would you speak that way to your 7-year-old child, your 5-year-old child? If they came to you and said, Mommy, I ate a piece of cake and I shouldn't have. How dumb can you be? Why did you do that? You would never speak to a child that way. Why do you speak to your inner child that way? Why do you speak to yourself that way? And we're all guilty of it, right? So be careful how you, because also if you're saying these things out loud, your children hear you say these things, and then they'll start repeating them, and they'll start talking to themselves that way, right? Ouch. Ooh, did you hear my stomach growl? So watch how you speak to yourself. And then when you find yourself doing that, stop, find something to be grateful for, because gratitude and negativity cannot exist in your mind at the same time. So they're different chemicals. It's actually a different chemical reaction. So as soon as you find yourself wallowing in that self-pity or self-talk or bad things, stop and say, Lord, I'm grateful. I'm grateful I'm alive today. I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for my family. If I'm you're in a wheelchair with, 2 legs that aren't working, you can still be grateful for the arms that are working. There's always something you can be grateful for. So when you find yourself do that, stop and focus on gratitude. Don't forget self-kindness. It's an action, doing nice things for yourself, a nap, bath time, time with friends. What would you do for somebody else to treat them special, and do that for yourself? All right. So none of us likes being judged, but we're often the worst judge of ourselves. So we don't judge other people as harshly as we judge ourselves. So people aren't judging us as harshly as we judge ourselves. Now, I'm not saying there's not trolls out there that are going to be all over your case for something. I don't care who you are. There's going to be haters going to hate. There's going to be people out there. But block. Oh, it's so freeing. Block, block, block. Who needs that? Because you can't change their mind. If they don't like you, there's really, truly nothing you can do to change their mind. I find it tough sometimes, doesn't help. Yeah, you just got to keep working on it, Marie. It's a habit. It really is. It really is. Spot on, says Wendy. Let me see. Whoops. Let me see. I journal, but when it's over, I have to burn it. Yeah. Sometimes take good notes. Yeah, absolutely. Because, because then you can help other people. So we're often the worst judges of ourselves. And sometimes we make assumptions about ourselves, about how these trolls treat us. So, and I have fallen victim to this. I was blessed. I was telling Tina this yesterday. I was blessed to meet with Ann McKevitt when I was out in California. She gave me good 15, 20 minutes of her time. She is a philanthropist, a venture capitalist. She is a business, I forget exactly what it is, but to multi-millionaires and billionaires. And she advises them on their businesses and everything. And she said, okay, tell me this, tell me this, tell me this, tell me this. Number one, you give away too much. You're giving away stuff that you should be selling. And she goes, the problem is the people that you are dealing with right now know that you give all this stuff away. So as soon as you turn around and start charging it, they're going to be mad. They don't love you. They're not your friends. And I've had that where I've had, you know what some of you have done? Some of you have purchased the same thing more than once. And then I try to refund your money and you're like, you know what? I know you need it. Keep it because you've given away so much for free. Go ahead and keep the money. Because that's what you guys are like. Because you guys are amazing. And every once in a while you get some troll out there that I'm not paying for that. You used to give that away for free. Block. Don't need that. But yeah, I was very, 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 hey, Tammy. So how you doing? So good to have you back. Anyway, so none of us likes being judged, but we're the worst judges of ourselves. So how other people treat you is a reflection of them, not of you. And I have to remind myself of that because when you put yourself out in the public eye, you're putting your head down on a block and waiting for your neck to get chopped by somebody because somebody's going to do it. And when you realize that their negativity and their impression of you is not really you, it cracks me up now. I'm so used to it kind of for the most part. It's like water off a duck's back. But some of that stuff still hurts. I mean, how can people say that? It's more a reflection of them, not of you. So remember that when people, because sometimes they're like, oh, you, blah, 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 and you said this and that, and I'm like, not only have I never said that, I've never even thought that, so based on what? So if 50 people meet you and had 5 seconds with you, and then I sat down and interviewed them, some would have loved you, some wouldn't, some couldn't care less. Based on what? A lot of it would be their personal experience, your body language, the colors you're wearing. You may remind them of somebody they didn't like in junior high, in middle school, right? But always remember that your value is not based on someone else's misuse of you. Let me say that again. Your value is not based on someone else's misuse of you. Their opinions don't matter. Are they in the arena fighting with you? Are they in there getting bloody in battle? Or are they sitting up at the stands throwing stuff at you, too afraid to get their own feet wet or their feet dirty or their hands dirty? It's amazing to me. Somebody made a real nasty comment. I was on Mike Church's show as a guest a couple of weeks ago. And somebody went over and that was the most horrible book. And she said this and that and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't know what book you read, but that wasn't in my book. And she was like, I hope somebody else rewrites and writes their own book about this. And I challenged her. I said, you write a book. So people who have never written a book are the first to say, oh, you should rewrite, or somebody should rewrite that book. Why don't you do it? Critics like to sit and judge you, as opposed to getting their own hands dirty and sticking their neck out. Sure is a heck of a lot easier to sit back and throw stones than it is to get yourself in a position to have stones thrown at, right? What others think of us is none of our business anyway. Very true, Wendy. Oh, the arena quote. You got that, the Theodore Roosevelt quote? Me too. One thing people need to know is that this includes family. Family can be the worst. Yeah, absolutely, Emily. Oh my gosh. Yeah, they sure can. Thank you, Jocelyn. Jocelyn watched the Mike Shirt show, said it was lovely. So thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, she made some comment. I just found it. Yes to all makes you second guess. It really does when you listen to what other people. Don't cry. I'm going to make you. Yeah, I know. Let me see. Yes, we are all blessed by your generosity. Thank you, Tina. Leah and I just popped up a farm business page we should have done sooner, but the fear of public and dealing with people who might be nice or disagree with their philosophy is hard to get over. This is what happened to me when I chose to deal with my breast cancer naturally. And if you missed that webinar, I talked about how I dealt with breast cancer naturally on the webinar, ColleenHammond.com/cancer. And that will take you to the free webinar. But when I chose to do it naturally, I got hate mail. You are going to go to hell for misleading people and you are going to die. Why would somebody, a stranger, write someone they don't even know and tell them that they're going to go to hell when they die, and they are going to die, and well, we're all going to die, but who are you to judge me and tell me I'm going to go to hell because I chose to deal with my breast cancer naturally, which I did successfully, by the way. Bam, thank you very much. So anyway, your value is not based on the comments that other people say. And when you stick your neck out and risk and do, you will find like-minded people and attract those types of people to you. So here are your 7 tips now that we're getting on 30 minutes and I want to wrap this up. In everything you do, number 1, in everything you do, just do it the best you can. Do it to the best of your ability. Because when you do kind of something halfway and a little bit sloppy, you don't feel good about yourself, right? So when you give it your all, just do the best you can at the moment. Always do the best you can at the moment. And then you have nothing to worry about. It's the devil, says Emily. Yeah. Butthead, said Wendy. Yeah, so do things to the best of your ability. Do what you can at the time. Number 2, take care of your appearance. Dress as smart as you can for the occasion. Again, we don't want to end up on the People of Walmart Facebook page. Because how you dress and how you present yourselves tells other people how you want to be treated. So if you don't treat yourself well, people kind of go, meh, subconsciously. They don't consciously think this, but subconsciously, if you see somebody that doesn't take care of themselves well, subconsciously, there's that feeling, well, why should I treat them well? It's very subconscious. It's not a conscious thing that people think like, oh, they're sloppy, I'm going to treat them like they're sloppy, but it's just a very subconscious thing that we do. When somebody's dressed elegantly and carries themselves in an elegant manner, we're like, whoa. I remember this one time and this woman got off the plane and she was dressed in traditional African garb. I forget what it's called, but she got off the plane and she acted as if she was the queen of South Africa, right? The way she carried herself, she was just a normal person. But the way she carried herself and kind of, get that for me, please. Get that for me, please. Was a little snobby, but she just, the way her posture and everything. So that's number 2. Take care of your appearance. Is the best you can. Truly. It only takes a couple of minutes to brush your hair, put on a little lip gloss, maybe a little mascara, and fluff some color on your cheeks. Foundation makes a big difference. Literally just a couple of minutes. We're not talking about getting decked out like you're going to a Christmas party. Just a little tiny bit of self-care makes you feel better about yourself. That's my new goal, putting eyelashes on every morning. I didn't get them on this morning. That's okay. Number 3 tip for growing in self-worth. Speak up for yourself. You're not called to be a doormat. People totally misinterpret the Bible when it says turn the other cheek. You're not required to be a doormat as a Christian or as anybody. I don't care if you're a Christian or not. Nobody deserves to be treated like a doormat. So speak up for yourself. And you don't have to be jerky about it either. Just don't be afraid to set boundaries for yourself. And like Emily said earlier about families, This is important in your families as well. Sometimes you have to block a family member or two, right? Never break your core values is number 4. If never said with cheek. The people of Walmart, I'm telling you, you don't want to end up that page. Do not end up on that page. Because when my husband lost his job a number of years ago, I went to work at Walmart. It was a pharmacy tech in college. So I went to work at Walmart as a pharmacy tech. I was making, I don't know, like $11 an hour. Just for some extra cash for food. And I think I took some of those pictures that ended up on the people. I'm going to do a thing on eyelashes, Jocelyn. Hey, Melanie, good morning. So number 4 is never break your core values. Anytime you're tempted to step outside and you have to know what your core values are. You have to really stop and think about it sometimes and really write them down so you really know. But anytime you step outside your core values, you're not going to feel good about yourself. You're going to lower your own self-worth. And it's got nothing to do with anybody else. It's because you know deep down inside, I shouldn't have done that. That doesn't match who I am. That's not who I want to be when I grow up. Yeah, I'm 55. I'm still saying that. Number 5, never say anything bad about anybody else, even if it's true. Too much negativity. Way too much negativity. Let me see. Yeah. Jesus was no pushover. No, he was flipping some tables. My girlfriend and I did when they came out with the 5 luminous mysteries, my girlfriend and I did the 5 Jesus is angry mysteries. I forget what they are now, but one of them was him flipping over tables. But there's instances in the Bible where Jesus is like, I don't think so, right? He was not a wimp. He was not, he stood up for himself. So anyway, so number 5 is never say bad things about other people, even if it's true. Nobody needs any kind of negativity in their life. Now, of course, there's exceptions to that. I mean, sometimes people need to be pulled off to the side and warned, but there are but are you the person to tell them? Again, there's that hierarchy. That's like a 20-minute talk. I'm not going to get into that one, but never say bad things about other people, even if it's true. But don't give false compliments either. Whoa. Big bolt of lightning and some thunder. Don't be afraid to accept help from other people. Other people is number 6. When people offer help, it means they respect and love you enough to want to help you. And who are you to slap their hand away? That's not nice. Oh, let me help you with that. No, thanks. And I learned this on the plane. A lot of plane stories, don't I? I don't travel as much anymore, thank God. But that's by design. I turn down a lot of things, but men would offer to help and women are like, no, thanks, I've got it. So here men are trying to be chivalrous and step outside of their own comfort zone and offer help to somebody, a lady. And she punches him in the gut and says, no, basically be humble enough to accept help from other people, because if they're offering help, they love and respect you and they want to help you. So, Emily said, just spoke to son husband about complaining and talking about others. Yeah, we don't need to point out every flaw. Men can even be gossipy now too. I know, that's so true. Some older people don't want your help. It's a pride issue. Absolutely, Judy. I see that a lot too. Hey, Mary, how you doing? Nice to have you here. Wendy said something and I grabbed your slippers. I saw something and then said wine. We could have wine. So anyway, so that's number 6. Don't be afraid to accept help from other people. And number 7, here's a biggie. Number 7 tip for growing in self-worth. My dear friend, forgive yourself. And I'm saying this just as much to me as I am to you. You know what you have to forgive yourself for. If God has forgiven you, are you better than him that you can't forgive yourself? Or are you that cheeky that you're going to tell God, you know what? It was a mistake to forgive me for this because I know how bad it was. You really don't understand the depth and the breadth of how bad this thing is that I did. And you may think you forgave me, but I don't really think you did. So I'm going to continue to wallow in it. And there may be more than one thing. If you're like me, there may be more than one thing that you need to go back and forgive yourself for. So quit beating yourself up. If you've repaired the damage to the best of your ability, move on. There's nothing more that you can do. Stop going back and forth with all of this with you, in your lives, right? Forgiveness is so important. Great live. Thank you, Wendy. Just forgive yourself. You really. So do you. It's the best stewardship gift that you can give. It's really the best one you have, is the gift of you that you were put on earth to share with others. So do you. So if you missed the beginning of this, just share this. I'm not going to go through the whole thing again because it was a little more than half an hour and it wasn't supposed to be this long. It was supposed to be 20 minutes. But share it, and just even if you share it to your messages so that you can go back and watch the beginning. So I hope that was helpful to you. Remember, people do judge. If you go out to bit.ly/people judge, you can see the 7 things that people determine about you in just a couple of seconds and what you can do about it to make it better. So I hope this has helped. And now for the Facebook Live, I'll continue chatting with you, and we'll go back and look at your questions.